Very on brand for Zurich.
10 to 15,000 francs a year.
To buy?
No, to rent a store.
Those sound like buying prices.
Nope, that's rent.
The most expensive Big Mac in the world. Even a kebab isn't something everyone can afford here. And cruising down the streets, there are these awful things. A literal coffin on wheels costs as much as a brand new Mercedes. Don't touch anyone's bums. Things aren't great here.
Here you have a choice, transport ticket or lunch.
Honestly, it's kind of terrifying. All right, friends, welcome to Zurich. Everything looks beautiful. And by the way, this is interesting. I don't often see this in duty-free zones. There's a design code here. Usually you see that in historic city centers, but here, colored signs are banned altogether. So every brand, even Lego, uses clean black and white signage. Everything has to look minimal, elegant, and expensive. No bright colors, no aggressive logos. Although, to be fair, this is duty-free. A little color probably wouldn't hurt. It's not exactly the old town. Just look at how stylish everything is right outside the airport. Look at this glossy black booth that just says taxi. Even the ceiling has designer lighting. Yeah, very luxury. I don't even want to know how much a taxi costs here, so I rented a car instead. Though finding the rental desk took longer than it should have. With prices and taxes like these, they could invest in decent navigation. All right, car secured, heading to Zurich. To be fair, if I were only staying in Zurich, I would never rent a car. It's insanely expensive. In Zurich and in most big Swiss cities, driving means traffic, pricey parking, and constant stress. Not exactly fun. Public transport makes way more sense. But I want to see the country, small towns, villages, the whole thing. I want to get to know Switzerland properly and show it to you. Yes, public transport here is almost perfect. Trains, trams, everything runs like a clock. But if you're short on time and want to explore beyond the cities, doing it without a car is still tricky. For now, I'm getting familiar with Zurich traffic. What can I say? Traffic exists. Look at this tram, guys. Absolute beauty. This is what an urbanist's dream looks like. I decided to explore Zurich on foot, so I parked the car in a paid parking lot and headed into the city center. And when it comes to local rules, and especially prices, Natalia knows everything. She lives here and works as a real estate agent, mostly luxury property, and she kindly agreed to show me the most expensive side of the city.
We're at Paradeplatz, the main square in central Zurich. This is the financial heart of the city. There are underground vaults here. People walk above, trams run right over them. That's why this is considered the most expensive area. The street starts near Lake Zurich and goes all the way to the main train station. It's about 1.5 kilometers long. All the major boutiques, top hotels, everything is within walking distance. That's why tourists come here, to shop and to make money.
Make money?
Yes, make it and invest it.
Zurich is a full-on banking metropolis, so why are there so many banks in Switzerland? There are over 200 of them, in a country of just 9 million people. Historically, Switzerland became famous for its neutrality and stability. During and after the World Wars, money from all over the globe flowed here. Swiss banks promised security and confidentiality, and Zurich turned into a financial safe haven. Today, the country's biggest banks are based here, including UBS. It's one of the largest banks in the world by assets, with trillions of dollars under management. This isn't just a bank, it's a global heavyweight with offices all over the world. You've probably also heard of Credit Suisse, another giant, even though it's gone through serious crises in recent years. And beyond the big names, Zurich is packed with private banks and investment funds, all working with wealthy clients worldwide. Confidentiality here is almost sacred. You can open accounts and store money without attracting unwanted attention. In 2024, the total volume of assets held in Swiss banks, including offshore structures and other investments, was estimated at around $8 trillion US. For comparison, the entire US federal budget in 2024 was just under $7 trillion.
This is the former Credit Suisse building. It's now part of UBS. Credit Suisse doesn't exist as a separate bank anymore. And this is where bankers come for lunch. It's a very popular spot.
Yeah, you can tell, everyone's in suits. So how much does lunch cost here without alcohol?
Around 60 francs on average.
Per person?
Yes, per person.
And that's considered cheap?
It's a standard price. And over there, that's a Coop grocery store.
Let's check out food prices.
Let's go. Come in.
Since we're here, might as well see what groceries cost. Okay, main thing is not to get run over by a tram.
Meat is about 50 francs per kilo on average.
That's brutal. So here we are. That's per kilo, right?
Yep. Apricots are $8.50.
Are these even good or just expensive? Though they're in season now.
In general, food in Switzerland is high quality.
Peaches are $4.50. They're rock hard.
To be fair, this store isn't considered expensive.
If one of those peaches falls on your head, that's a concussion. Apples are 5.10 or 5.20 franc. Expensive. Where are they from?
They're Swiss apples.
Okay, that explains it.
See? They even label them sweet, sweet and sour. Everything's clearly marked. These are organic, so they're 5.20 francs.
I didn't realize Switzerland produced this many apples.
Avocados are 2 francs 10 each.
Where are they from? Mexico.
Actually, you know what? This store isn't really the benchmark. Let's go to Globus. I'll show you groceries there. The selection's much more interesting.
That's where things get luxurious. And while we were on our way to buy premium milk and other Swiss delicacies, I noticed something else. As you can imagine, in Zurich, you almost never see someone in a random souvenir t-shirt. And standing out with flashy clothes just isn't a thing here. The Swiss generally prefer a very restrained style. A suit might cost as much as a used car, but it looks completely understated. And yes, people here are willing to spend serious money on quality clothing. Shirts that cost a few hundred francs are totally normal because they're made to last for years. As for younger people, day to day they dress more casually, of course. But in the business world, everything is strict and polished. Even in 30+ degree heat, people stick to the dress code. Suits, shirts, ties. In Zurich, you constantly see people who look like they've just stepped out of an important business meeting. And sometimes it's a weekend morning in the middle of a city park. That's just part of the local culture. Another part of Swiss culture, apparently, is absolutely wild commercial rent.
So, retail space here is priced per square meter per year, between 10 and 15,000 francs a year.
That's to buy?
No, to rent a store.
Those sound like buying prices.
Nope, that's rent. This is an elite menswear store, Bruno's. It's right on Bank Street, Bankstrasse.
But this location should be cheaper, right?
Well, their main store used to be on the main avenue. They moved here about a year ago.
So it's cheaper here?
Just slightly. The father founded the store, and now his son, Adriano, owns it and works here. Hi, Adriano. We've arrived. We just need about 10 minutes to film a short piece.
Hello.
Hello.
He's a journalist. He's making a report about Switzerland and Zurich. Could you tell us about your most expensive suits? Who your clients are and where they're from?
Sure.
How much is rent here?
That I can't share.
150,000 francs per month.
For the entire store?
Yes?
The store itself is pretty small, maybe around 100 square meters.
Could you show us your most expensive suits? Let's see. This is the most exclusive brand.
Cesare Attolini.
It's an Italian brand,
From Naples.
fully handmade. And the price?
5,900. The most expensive one is 80,000.
I said show the most expensive one. He showed us the cheapest.
This is the cheapest one?
He says it's still very high quality. That's why he showed it. But yes, the top price is 80,000. Can you show it to us?
No, it's not here.
Maybe in the catalog?
I can show the fabric.
Honestly, in a suit like that, dyeing wouldn't even be scary.
He'll show the fabric samples. These suits are made to order. This one here is 1,900.
That's still cheap.
Yeah, it's not that expensive.
We could buy it now if we wanted to. Here's one for 1,400 francs.
He must have sold the most expensive ones. What's left is the cheap stuff. They're around 2,000. So now he's showing the samples.
This is the most expensive fabric, vicuña, from South America.
That's
Yeah, it's an animal.
from South America.
Let's open it.
I thought the animal would be inside, but no, just the fabric.
It's a sample.
Incredible.
To tailor a suit from this fabric, the price is around 80,000 francs a month.
You could take out a mortgage on a suit if it's 80,000 a month.
Not a month, sorry, in total. Yes, around 80,000 for a made-to-measure suit. Depends on the size and how much fabric is used.
Who actually buys suits for 80,000 francs?
Mostly foreign businessmen.
Anyone from Russia?
Yes.
And from Kazakhstan? You mentioned it to me before.
Yes, from Kazakhstan too, and from the US as well.
A briefcase from Crocodile, not too expensive, 3,100 francs.
This one isn't very expensive because it's not real leather. A real one costs around 40,000.
So it's not real.
It's for business.
You can tell it's for a serious guy going straight to a Swiss bank, a crocodile leather cap. If you ever see someone wearing a crocodile cap, just know they paid at least 4,500 francs for it. Hats. Bags. And look at these special shoehorns for your crocodile leather shoes. Incredible. Friends, we're only at the beginning of the episode, and I'm already in shock from the prices. I desperately need to eat something to calm down after all this luxury. Okay, tomatoes. They're 130, 160.
1 franc 30 per 100 grams.
Yes, I'm roughly converting in my head.
That's 18 francs per kilo.
Which ones are the most expensive? It's these ones. Where are they from? Italy.
Yeah, the ones that are a bit green. They're 22 francs per kilo.
Hold on, what's this gold thing? They're selling something wrapped in gold.
That's a potato in foil.
A potato?
Yes, Swiss potato in foil.
Wait, that's per piece?
Yes, one potato costs 1 franc 50.
A potato in gold foil. Okay, do you have potatoes without gold?
They sell potatoes individually. Don't they do that in Russia?
If they started selling potatoes one by one in Russia, everyone would just laugh at how bad things must have gone.
Chanterelles used to come from Belarus. Now, because of sanctions, they're resold through Lithuania.
So Belarusian mushrooms are officially from Lithuania. How much are they?
$13.50 per pack.
And a pack is 200 grams, $13.50 for 200 grams of Belarusian chanterelles. I wonder how much these cost back in Belarus. Oh, look, flowers.
Yes, edible flowers. They're usually added to soups or salads as decoration.
Of course. For 8 francs, you can buy flowers, the kind you usually see in a flower garden.
And they're free there.
Free at the garden, 8 francs in the store. Flowers to decorate your salad. If we're buying spaghetti, then we're doing it properly.
Real Italian spaghetti. XXL size. How many are we getting?
It's 2.5 kilos.
For 35 francs.
Wait, how much is that? 2.5 kilos, right?
And here's a gift version. Look.
I actually like this. A single giant spaghetti stick, XXL for 35 francs. You just buy it and carry spaghetti home like this. Breadsticks, 200 grams for 12 francs. That's expensive. They're basically just fancy crackers, and I'm guessing this is the store's own brand, judging by the plain white packaging. All right, let's keep going. Oh, eggs. This is what people always ask about. How much do eggs cost?
6 eggs cost $8.50.
$8.50 for 6 eggs.
They're organic.
Of course they are for that price. So 1 egg costs more than a franc, more expensive than in New York.
It says size 2XL. These are big eggs. 73 grams per egg.
That's not XXL. Let's see. 4 eggs are 6 francs. No idea why.
Yes, 6 eggs for $8.50 or 4 for 6. 73 grams per egg, large, 2XL. Very rich yolk. People usually buy these to soft boil. Boil them for 3 minutes and then eat them with a spoon like kings used to.
But I still can't let go of those expensive tomatoes. I won't calm down until I try them. Which ones do we take? The most expensive, right? They're $5.50.
These here, $5.50 per 100 grams or 55 francs per kilo.
All right, let's take 2.
2 pieces, 2 tomatoes.
2 tomatoes.
7 francs.
Okay, let's go. So friends, 2 tiny tomatoes for almost 8 francs. And now we're about to find out what kind of magic they contain. $5.50 per 100 grams.
Let's go sit down on Bank Street.
Let's go. If we're eating the most expensive tomatoes, we should do it on the most expensive street. Honestly, I'm scared to even carry them. What if they fall and get damaged?
We won't wash them. There's a fountain. We'll rinse them there.
Do we really need to wash them? For that price, they should already be clean. Okay, let's rinse them here. You have a Rolex and I have tomatoes, $5.50 per 100 grams. All right, ready?
Let's try them. So, how is it?
Let's say this. It's a fine tomato.
Kinda may, right? I wouldn't say it's anything special. Not sweet.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. It's not very rich in flavor. Not sweet at all. Honestly, it's just a regular tomato. If you bought something like this in Russia in the summer, you'd find the same thing in any grocery store. We're in summer, so this is just normal.
It's kinda hard too. Like it's underripe. It looks dark on the outside.
We're not happy.
But inside it's almost green. I didn't like it. I'm not buying this again.
Well, at least now we understand how they pay that rent. And this was just the first bite. The closer you get to the stem, the worse it gets.
All right, let's keep walking. Throw it away.
I'm not even finishing this. I will. So here we are, casually throwing out a 5-franc tomato. If an Uzbek guy were standing here instead of me, he'd probably go back and return it, because this is an insult to tomatoes. To be fair, it's not terrible, it's not plastic, it does have some taste, but it's not distinct, not intense. When you buy insanely expensive fruit or vegetables in places like Japan or Korea, they really do taste incredible, intense, memorable. You understand what you're paying for. Here, why this costs 5 francs per 100 grams is a complete mystery to me. And while we're walking down one of the richest and most expensive streets in the city, let's talk numbers. Living here is expensive, truly. Zurich is very expensive. Even if you're saving money, food alone will cost you around 1,000 francs a month, and that's being very modest. Let's do some simple math. You go to a cafe, get a coffee and a croissant, that's about 10 francs. An espresso or cappuccino is 4 to 5 plus another 4 or 5 for a croissant. And that's without leaving a tip. Behind me, they're selling ice cream. 2 scoops cost 9 francs. 1 scoop is 5. So just breakfast, coffee and a pastry, and you're already down 10 francs. Lunch, if you don't go to a restaurant and choose something fairly simple, will still cost about 30 francs. Finding anything cheaper is tough unless it's fast food. But even fast food here costs about twice as much as in most other European cities. Dinner, even if you cook at home and don't eat out, still adds up. I actually did the math, and if you really try to save money, it still comes out to around 1,000 francs a month. Honestly, I don't know how you'd spend less. And that's assuming you're not living lavishly, shopping at relatively affordable stores. Not cheap products, just normal ones while trying to save money. That's the reality. So friends, why is it so expensive here? First of all, Zurich is one of the world's major financial centers. GDP per capita here is over $100,000 a year. These aren't abstract statistics, this is real money circulating in this city. Zurich is the largest city in Switzerland, both by area and by population. And of course, it's beautiful. Mountains, a lake, stunning scenery. But paradoxically, all this natural beauty creates serious limitations for urban development. Because of Lake Zurich and the surrounding mountains, there's a catastrophic shortage of available land. The city simply has nowhere to expand. As a result, growth is extremely constrained and land scarcity pushes real estate prices to almost unreachable levels. Strict building regulations prohibit high-rise construction in order to preserve the city's historic appearance. Building a new house here is terribly difficult. Bureaucracy, environmental regulations, endless approvals. Zurich also attracts a large number of foreigners and expats, especially from the banking and IT sectors. They're willing to pay for comfort and convenience, and real estate investments here are considered reliable. Taxes, by the way, are actually quite moderate compared to many EU countries. Switzerland's standard VAT rate is 8.1%, while in the EU the minimum is 17%, and in many countries it's even higher. But housing maintenance and utilities are expensive. Monthly building and utility costs for a 60 to 80 square meter apartment can easily run 200 or 300 francs, so pricing here is driven by several factors at once. Limited space, high demand, strict construction rules, and a constant inflow of wealthy foreigners. So what does a Swiss person feel when they arrive, say, in Greece or Spain, like everything is free?
The thing is, prices don't really shock us anymore. Monaco, Saint-Tropez, the most expensive resorts. Places like Porto Banús, Miami, their prices feel fairly comparable to Switzerland, so they don't surprise us at all. But when I travel to poorer countries, of course, I feel significantly wealthier than most other tourists.
If you want to really feel the difference or simply save money on food, the Swiss use a fairly simple method, although it does require a bit of traveling. In Switzerland, grocery prices are on average 30 to 50% higher than in German stores near the border. This applies to milk, bread, meat, and many other everyday products. Zurich is about an hour's drive from the German cities of Konstanz and Lörrach, and that's exactly where locals go shopping. Just like people from St. Petersburg used to go to Finland or residents of Kaliningrad went to Lithuania. A bit of nostalgia in my eye. Anyway, these cities have large retail chains where prices are noticeably lower than in Switzerland. Up to 30 to 40% of customers in border area German supermarkets are actually residents of neighboring Swiss cantons. And it's not just groceries. The Swiss also buy household appliances, electronics, and clothing there. The savings are substantial, several hundred francs a month. Fuel is cheaper in Germany as well. So many people fill up their cars there too. That's life in Zurich, expensive but resourceful. It's important to note that these aren't occasional trips for many families. This is simply part of everyday life. And if you travel even farther away, grocery prices can be 2 to 3 times lower than in Switzerland. But one thing you can hardly save on, and that thing is housing. Simply because there's nothing cheap there at all.
Rent in central Zurich averages around 4,000 to 5,000 Swiss francs per month.
And what kind of apartment can you get?
A 2- or 3-room apartment in the city center. Modern apartments along Lake Zurich are priced similarly, but you usually get more square meters. There's what's called the Gold Coast and the Silver Coast. The Gold Coast is the sunny side of the lake, and the Silver Coast is the shaded side.
And how much is it?
The Gold Coast is considered more expensive and more prestigious. Property prices are higher, rents are higher, and purchase prices are significantly higher as well.
So how much do you need to earn in Zurich to be considered middle class?
On average, to live without stress, you need around 10,000 francs a month. Ideally, 20,000 to really feel comfortable.
The average salary in Zurich is around 7,000 to 8,000 Swiss francs per month before taxes. After all deductions, take-home pay is roughly 5,500 to 6,500 francs. That sounds decent, but let's look a little deeper. Top managers in the financial sector can earn over 200,000 francs a year. That's like buying a Volkswagen Golf every couple of months. 8 specialists also do very well. A junior developer can expect 70 to 90,000 francs per year, while a senior developer earns 120 to 150,000. But there's another side to the story. Waiters and retail workers earn only 48 to 60,000 francs a year after taxes. That's why many professionals come to Zurich temporarily, especially from Eastern Europe and Asia. They stay for a year or two, earn good money, and then return home with savings. Where are we now?
We're on Lake Zurich. This is the left shore, known as the Gold Coast. Why is it called that? Because it's the sunny side, and it's considered the most elite area. Over there is the Silver Coast, the shaded side, where real estate is cheaper. Farther along is still the canton of Zurich, and beyond that, the canton of Schwyz. Some of the lowest taxes are in the cantons of Lucerne, Schwyz, and Zug.
What do you mean by low taxes?
Lower compared to other cantons. It's more profitable to live and open a business there.
What's the tax there?
Tax rates are around 10 to 12%, depending on income. The higher the income, the higher the rate.
So it's progressive?
Yes, a progressive tax system. The famous Swiss tennis player Roger Federer lives in Wollerau, in the canton of Schwyz. Tina Turner used to live in Küsnacht. She had a huge luxury villa on Lake Zurich with a private beach, but she has since passed away. Over here is the Zurich Opera House and the famous Eden au Lac Hotel, a place frequented by Doronin. The water in the lake is very clean. Trout live here. You can take a boat tour of Lake Zurich, about an hour and a half, all the way to Rapperswil and back.
We won't be able to make it on a boat, but I did manage to discover something else. And of course, Zurich is connected to many historical figures. One of the most famous Zurich residents for people from our part of the world is Vladimir Lenin. He lived here for several years, and it was from Zurich that he set off to conquer Russia. He wrote letters here and left memoirs about Zurich. Behind me is Café Odeon, a place Lenin used to frequent. At the time, the intellectual elite gathered here, and Lenin often stopped by to debate the idea of a world revolution. By the way, the cafe is still open today. Of course, the cuisine and many details have changed over the years, but the interiors and the memory of Lenin are still very much alive here. And this is the house where Lenin lived. There's a plaque saying he lived here from February 21st, 1916 to April 2nd, 1917. Lenin didn't just live here, he suffered here. He clearly lacked action, and I wouldn't be surprised if he truly withered away in Zurich. It's important to understand that his life here was far from comfortable. This wasn't the Zurich of wealthy residents dining in restaurants. He lived in a tiny room in this building, barely getting by, and his life was, let's say, not particularly exciting. And at the very first opportunity, he got out of here. In 1917, he left Zurich for what was then Petrograd. Today, all that remains is this plaque, a reminder that Lenin once lived here. If only Lenin had known how much real estate here would cost one day, who knows how history might have turned out. Zurich has everything when it comes to transportation, trams, buses, and even S-Bahn commuter trains. It's all part of a single integrated public transport system. There are also boats on Lake Zurich, which are not just for tourists. They're a full-fledged part of the transport network. Now, about tickets. Without a travel pass, you're basically going nowhere. A monthly pass costs around 90 francs. You can use everything except taxis. A single ticket costs about 4.5 francs, and a day pass is around 9 francs. So, if you plan to use public transport regularly, a monthly pass makes far more sense. Punctuality here is sacred. If a bus is scheduled to arrive at 2:30 p.m., it will arrive at 2:30 p.m. Minor delays do happen, of course, but locals are so used to precision that any serious deviation becomes a sensation and a reason to complain. Bicycles in Zurich are a whole separate story. There are tons of them. There are dedicated parking areas, ramps, and generally comfortable conditions for cycling. There's even free bike rental. You just leave a 20 franc deposit. Taxis, on the other hand, are a luxury. A ride across the city can cost 50 to 70 francs. Parking in the city center is pure pain. Parking for 1 hour costs 4 to 5 francs, and finding a free spot feels like winning the lottery. Which is starting to feel very familiar across the globe. That's why locals figured it out long ago: leave the car on the outskirts and take public transport into the center. Interestingly, I'm not a local, and I didn't figure that out. I parked the car I drove here right in the city center. Now I'm walking around filming, and at the end of the day I'll go back to the parking lot and painfully insert that parking ticket into the machine. I'm genuinely curious how much damage I've done to my wallet. But there's a more budget-friendly mode of transport, and one I personally love. Let's test the local bicycles. So far, bike lanes aren't exactly obvious. I'm following the GPS, hoping I don't upset anyone. Okay, looks like something resembling a bike lane is appearing. But overall, cyclists here ride rather spontaneously. And honestly, speaking from an urban planning perspective, these bike lanes are, well, kind of a joke. In many places, they're literally just painted lines on the asphalt. Maybe further away from the center, things get better. I'll try riding out of downtown now, but here, it's not great. These bike lanes are unsafe. They run right alongside parked cars. That means if someone opens a car door, you crash straight into it. That's unacceptable. Bike lanes should be physically separated. On the other hand, if we're talking about central Zurich, it's clear that everything here is very dense. There simply isn't much space, and it's understandable why it's hard to carve out proper, fully separated bike infrastructure. But you could take inspiration from Amsterdam, remove cars entirely, and give the street to cyclists. And by the way, friends, I'm about to say something controversial for some drivers. If you can't build a proper bike lane because there's no space, then you should make a shared road with cars. But not by giving cyclists the shoulder, you give cyclists the entire lane. Cars should move at bicycle speed, in the flow of cyclists, without the ability to overtake them. That's the safest solution. Because when we talk about cycling in cities, safety comes first. A bicycle must be safe first and foremost. That said, Zurich is stunning, especially the city center. Everything is clean, tidy, well kept. The trams glide by, and I was lucky enough to catch this magical weather. crystal clear water, the lake, the river, everything looks beautiful. The main thing is not to look at the prices. As long as you don't look at the prices, everything feels great. Once you do, it's a completely different story, completely different emotions. This bike lane here is kind of flickering. It appears, then disappears, then appears again, and disappears again. So how are you supposed to ride here without bothering anyone? All right, now I guess I need to merge into the middle of the road. We let the elderly woman pass, and now it seems okay to go. I'm not entirely sure I did that correctly, but something like that. Unlike Copenhagen or Amsterdam, Zurich is a hilly city. If you don't have an electric bike, this can be a problem. I rode a few more kilometers and suddenly it's a completely different Zurich. So friends, we're now in the Langstrasse district. Historically, this wasn't a very prosperous area. Immigrants lived here, drugs were sold, street prostitution, all of that used to be here. But today, things look much better. In recent years, the local authorities have invested a lot of effort into making this area nicer. In general, it's quite hard to imagine truly dangerous or run-down neighborhoods in Switzerland like you might see in parts of San Francisco, Los Angeles, or New York. The standard of living here is simply too high. Even areas that are considered problematic by local standards still look very decent compared to many European neighborhoods. Yes, there are more immigrants here. Yes, more graffiti, more questionable shops. But overall, it's still fairly clean and orderly. Let's ride through and take a look. On the right, you can see women that are politely called ladies of pleasure. There aren't many of them, by the way. They're older, maybe because it's still morning. Some parts look a bit neglected here. No more street workers visible beyond that. Various different establishments. So yes, prostitution is present here. And by the way, prostitution is legal in Switzerland. Most of the women working here come from Eastern Europe. Yes, there are a few people who look like drug users, but they're not lying on the ground. There are no tents, no trash camps, none of the chaos you see in places like Paris. Even in what's considered a rough neighborhood, everything still looks fairly decent. And here you can see just how clear the water is in Zurich. It's literally crystal clear. There's a dam here, one of the city's official swimming spots, some kind of hydraulic or power structure, judging by how it looks. Doesn't really matter, the point is, people are swimming here. You can see huge numbers of people. The water is cold but unbelievably clean. But on a sunny, hot day, you really want to jump in for a swim. They've taped over the sign here, so it's unclear whether you're allowed to ride a bike through. Probably not. So let's not bother the swimmers and people relaxing here. You look at this water and realize that if things ever get really bad, if everything feels completely bleak, at least on a hot day you can come here and swim for free, and somehow that makes up for at least some of the inconveniences. There's an interesting set of rules posted along the embankment. Loud portable speakers are prohibited. They can even be confiscated by the police. Violence is unacceptable, it says. Respect others. Violence is unacceptable. You can't hit anyone. You can't drink alcohol. Interesting, right? Know your limits and watch your peers. Meaning, you're not allowed to get drunker than your friends. No harassment. No touching anyone's butt. At first, I thought this icon was about pickpocketing. But no, it literally says harassment is forbidden and touching people's butts is not allowed. And of course, no littering. In short, you're expected to behave properly on Zurich's waterfront. And before I completely bankrupt myself in Zurich, it's time to go somewhere else. All that's left is to pick up the car from the parking lot, and I'm a bit nervous because I'm walking up to the parking lot where I left the car. It's about 4:45 p.m. now. I parked it around 11 a.m., so it's been there for about 6 hours, and I honestly have no idea how much that's going to cost. It's genuinely scary. All right, first I need to find the parking lot. Here it is. Okay, where's my ticket? The precious ticket. Parking. Payment machine. Here's the machine. Well, not that bad. 31 euros, 28 francs. Goodbye, they say. Honestly, I expected it to be worse. So that's fine. Breathing a sigh of relief, but still remaining naive, I decided to head into the mountains, hoping to find something affordable in this country, or at least a place where tomatoes don't cost 5.5 francs per 100 grams. Friends, I can't hide this beauty from you. The camera, of course, doesn't even come close to capturing it. It's difficult to film from inside the car, but trust me, it's absolutely breathtaking, just unreal. One blessing is that the car has autopilot. Well, not really autopilot, lane keeping, distance control, that sort of thing. It makes driving a bit more relaxing because you feel like the car is helping you. Although, of course, you still have to watch the road. I don't fully trust these systems, but it's still pretty cool. Right now, it feels like a Volkswagen commercial. No, obviously, it's not real autopilot. It just nudges the steering. You definitely can't rely on it fully, but it helps in moments when you get slightly distracted. Look, friends, how stylish everything is here. This gas station and the store inside it is just wonderful. There's a restroom, a small restaurant. In terms of design, the Swiss really know what they're doing. You're driving, you stop, grab a sandwich, and just admire this otherworldly beauty. This is just on the highway. You pull over, and there's a river right there, a bridge, paths you can walk along, pine trees. It's just magical. Honestly, I can't believe how aesthetically pleasing and comfortable everything is here. And all this at a gas station. Pure joy, absolute joy. Oh, this feels so good. And this is what the restroom looks like. There are sinks and these little cabin-like structures. Basically, the restroom looks like an alpine village. And what's really interesting, there's even a shower. Cool, right? I mean, seriously, a real shower. 3 Swiss francs for 6 minutes. You drop in a coin and enjoy the water. Let's see what they sell in the shop. Oh wow, so much chocolate. Well, yes, we are in Switzerland. Look, friends, just an endless amount of chocolate. This is basically a sweet tooth's dream. So many different kinds. Wow. And watches, of course. You can buy a watch here. What do they sell at gas stations in Switzerland? Watches, sure, probably not luxury ones, but still. Although, maybe some of them are expensive. By the way, I forgot to mention, I'm heading to Zermatt, a town and ski resort in the Alps. I'm with Vadim and his family. Not far from Zermatt, we had to leave the car in a parking lot. You're not allowed to enter the town with your own car, unless it's electric. And even then, not all electric cars are allowed. So we're choosing a different way to get there. Let's try to quickly buy tickets. Round trip.
3 tickets for 25 euros.
Almost, I wouldn't call that euros. All right, let's go. Oh, wow. And here's the little train to Zermatt. Right at the station square, you immediately see these ugly little vehicles. Yep, they haven't changed at all. They're literal coffins on wheels, and they're covered in advertising too. Ads everywhere, cruises, yachts, ships. That's what it all looks like. There are a lot of them here. We'll talk about these vehicles in a moment. But first, just notice how ugly they are. Truly unattractive. Genuine coffins on wheels. So how did Zermatt even end up like this? Why do they have vehicles like these? In 1947, right after World War II, the local residents decided that their greatest asset was their stunning nature. And cars, especially back then, when they were far from environmentally friendly, clearly didn't belong in their town. So in 1947, all internal combustion engine vehicles were banned here. Zermatt became the first town in Switzerland to completely prohibit cars. Then they had to figure out, okay, so what do we do now? Companies began developing electric vehicles. The first electric vehicles in the late 1940s weren't really cars. They were more like motorized platforms for transporting goods. Otherwise, people mostly got around the old-fashioned way by horse. Later on, manufacturers started producing these, well, coffins on wheels. And here's the key point. The regulations here are extremely strict. Not a single modern electric car meets them. Any electric vehicle allowed on Zermatt streets must meet several requirements. First, a maximum speed of 20 kilometers per hour. Second, very specific dimensions, no more than 4 meters in length, unless it's a bus, no more than 2 meters in height, and so on. This is because the streets here are very narrow and wider vehicles simply wouldn't fit. Look at these cargo vehicles, they're incredible. And because of all these restrictions, no mainstream electric car manufacturer can supply vehicles here because nobody actually makes cars like this. But local companies started to develop here, producing electric vehicles specifically for Zermatt, and because there's absolutely no competition, these electric cars look extremely ugly. It's just some kind of incomprehensible crap. These are metal coffins on wheels. They look so awful that it actually makes you want to cancel all these bands altogether and allow normal small cars in here, cars that are already widely produced today. Nice, compact, good-looking little cars that could drive around the town without completely disfiguring it. I mean, the intention was good. They were thinking about ecology, about not having dirty, polluting cars here. But in the end, with all these bans and regulations, they achieved the opposite. Now the streets are full of absolute garbage on wheels. Trains in Switzerland are a different story. There's the famous Swiss manufacturer Stadler. And since they operate in a competitive market, their trains are beautiful. As you can imagine, a lack of competition kills everything. And of course, friends, these restrictions on regular vehicles apply not only to taxis and city transport, but also to agricultural machinery. That's why local farmers here also use some truly bizarre vehicles. This is what they look like. There are some sheds here, and over here, take a look. This is some kind of technological miracle. I assume it's for transporting hay. Look at this thing! I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the guy just welded it together himself in his garage. Although, no, it even has some kind of license plate here. The year of manufacture isn't clear. This is what it looks like. See, it has a license, that's mandatory. All equipment here is regulated, quotas, standards, license plates, everything. Such a simple, crude construction. And here's the kicker. Very often, all this junk costs more than normal mass-produced machinery because this garbage is made in tiny batches, literally hand-assembled. All of these machines are built manually here in Switzerland, apparently in the name of supporting local businesses. They invented all these restrictions for themselves. So basically, they created their own problems, and now they're trying to solve them. Visually, it all looks pretty depressing. Instead of buying proper equipment, a farmer is forced to drive this garage welded piece of junk and pay a lot of money for it. Oh, and by the way, the police. I was wondering what kind of vehicles the police would have. Maybe something similar to this, but no, the police don't bother with that. They have a normal car. And by the way, I don't think it's electric. Yeah, I don't think it is, because if it were electric, it would be...
Is it automatic or manual? Automatic.
Yeah, no, it's not electric. I'm pretty sure it's not electric. It's just a regular car. So there you go, friends. Since 1947, cars with internal combustion engines have been banned here. Everyone drives these miserable little electric boxes that someone produces locally. Everyone except the local police. Because the Zermatt police don't care about these restrictions, they basically said, we're not driving around in Coffins, bring us a normal Volkswagen, a proper gasoline one, and we'll drive that around Zermatt. And that's exactly what they're doing. Why? Because they can't find themselves 5,000 francs, which is the penalty here for using a gasoline-powered car. So they enjoy the benefits of civilization while everyone else suffers and drives these electric coffins. Here's a small, locally produced police electric vehicle. This might even be some kind of police van.
Yes, yes.
Is it a police van?
There's a compartment for detainees in there.
Ah, right. I'm not sure you're allowed to just climb inside. Anyway, there's some kind of cargo or prisoner compartment back there. So yeah, this is a luxury electric police vehicle. Take a look at the design. The same people who make the best watches, chocolate and cowbells in the world, and then they go and design this ugly thing. And there's one more. Off it goes. Honestly, this just makes my blood boil. Friends, we're in Switzerland, which is already expensive, and on top of that, we're in Zermatt, one of the most expensive resort towns in Switzerland and in the world, and there's a McDonald's here, so let's check out the prices. Okay, let's switch to a normal language. What are the options? I said normal, not French. Wait, there's English. Well, we're in a restaurant, we can afford it. Let's explore the menu. Burgers.
It's expensive.
Look at this. A Big Mac costs 7.40 francs. That's about 9 euros.
Yes, 9 euros.
9 euros for a Big Mac. And if you want a meal, there's no large, only medium. A medium meal. Medium fries, some barbecue sauce, half a liter of Coke, so it's just a small Coke. That comes out to 14.50. Oh no, 14.30.
It's expensive, but if you buy everything separately, it's even worse. That's like 10 euros, even 12 actually. It's just not worth it.
How much do fries cost here? Look, plain fries cost 5 francs. That's for a medium. Small is 4.20. A mini is 3.30. They don't even sell large ones here because people don't have money. People literally don't have money. Friends, I'm tired of spending money. So remember that there are actually free forms of entertainment that are available to everyone, like just enjoying the beauty of Zermatt. Interestingly, even though this was originally more of a winter resort, summer tourism here is now very well developed too. God, how these little cars annoy me. They really drive me insane. Why? I don't understand why they're so ugly. Stimbo. Stimbo is the main manufacturer of these vehicles. This is what they look like, guys. Remember the name, Stimbo. Remember these people who clearly have no sense of aesthetics. They were founded in 1985 and today they are the main producer of these cars. Almost every single ugly little vehicle you see here is made by Stimbo. They seriously drive me crazy. Summer tourism here is booming. There are hiking trails, cycling routes. You can rent a bike, ride up the mountain, and then cycle all the way down. There are viewpoints, cable cars, lifts, everything you'd expect. Everywhere you look, it's beautiful. And there are people everywhere. All the hotels are full right now. Restaurants, cafes, everything's packed. We already checked how much junk food costs at McDonald's, but for the food snobs, there's real kebab here. A handmade kebab costs 14.50 francs. A combo meal is 22. Then there's falafel and other stuff. Even kebab isn't affordable for everyone here. And if someone suddenly decides to buy property here, the selection won't be very large. Now, friends, take a look at the local architecture. These are barn-style houses that stand on pillars with a stone underneath. Why is it built like that? That's interesting. Let's ask Vadim. Do you know why? Vadim, take a look. Think about it. You can tell right...
It's for animals.
No, there were no animals living there, but it's obvious you never lived in a dorm with bed bugs. What do you do to keep bed bugs from crawling into your bed? You put the legs of the bed into jars of water. When the bug starts crawling, it hits the water, and that's it. It's the same idea here, to keep rodents out of the barns. The barns stand on these little legs with stones underneath, so no rodent can climb up inside. Here's another example of a modern house on the one hand, very fashionable and contemporary, and on the other, it fits quite organically into the traditional Zermatt architecture, much better than this kind of house. This one is completely ordinary. They don't build like this anymore. Land here is extremely expensive, as you can imagine, and there's very little space for construction. So all new projects tend to be very expensive, very stylish, with hired architects. Another interesting thing is the garbage container. The trash inside gets compacted, and random people can't dump their garbage here. See? It's locked. Oh, the hotel staff just arrived, and they're about to throw the trash in. Then the container gets taken away. You can see the postal truck and the hotel truck. This is the main hotel, Zermatt. This is the main 5-star hotel here. It's very beautiful. And everything you see here, all the tourist infrastructure and so on, was built in the last century. Up until 1933, practically no one came here. Maybe 15 tourists a year, and only in summer, because getting to Zermatt was almost impossible. Everything changed in 1933 when the railway finally arrived here. A Along with it came tourists, visitors, and new residents. And that's when this village truly began to flourish. It's an incredible transformation. Just 100 years ago, there was nothing here. A god-forsaken mountain village. Today, it's one of the most expensive and famous resorts in the world. Of course, it's important to understand that about 90% of the real estate here is designed for tourists. Local residents, or people who actually work here, have mostly left long ago. Almost no one lives here permanently. All the real estate is for rent. Either hotels or apartment buildings where people buy apartments and then rent them out almost year-round. The people who work here, maintaining all this beauty, live in nearby towns because living here is simply too expensive. Living here is incredibly expensive, and if you own an apartment here, it's more profitable to rent it out and live somewhere farther away. So yes, some people do live here, but not many. Another interesting thing is how power is structured here. In reality, Zermatt is controlled by just a few families. 3 or 4 families who historically started managing things here, and for decades now, they've been the ones deciding what happens. All these restrictions, the car ban, architectural rules, what can and can't be built, all of this is decided by the local council. It's very influential. Local self-government here is extremely strong and power barely changes. It may pass from one family to another, but overall, they're on the same wavelength, thinking primarily about Zermatt's prosperity. And of course, their own as well. I decided to head uphill, enjoy the nature, and for at least a couple of hours not see any price tags. You walk, and suddenly this nice little house appears. As far as I understand, you can't get here by vehicle. There are no roads. So the only way to get here would be on a donkey. There's a tiny settlement here, a little garden, and this amazing house. By the way, they have solar panels because there's nothing else here. Getting here on foot is pretty exhausting. Although, wait, look, maybe... No, it seems those little electric cars do somehow get up here. Looks like those ugly little electric vehicles can reach this place too. These houses are incredible, friends, just unbelievable beauty. You walk along the path, altitude is about 2,000 meters. And there are fields, beautiful villages, everything is stunning. And then these views open up, mountains, forests, it's a fairy tale. What I especially like is that all the paths are actually well made. See? Gravel. Everything's even and solid. You can ride a bike here or walk comfortably. There are lots of elderly people walking around. For water drainage, there are these stone-lined channels everywhere. Everything is thought through in incredible detail. Of course, you couldn't really move around here in a wheelchair, but overall it's very, very comfortable. What incredible beauty, friends. Just look at this. Villages, winding mountain paths. And I'm walking along them, filming content for you. Yo, what's that white, red, white flag?
That's a tourist trail marking in Europe.
It doesn't have anything to do with free Belarus, does it?
I don't know, in France the markings are a bit different. Maybe in Switzerland some Belarusian opposition activists have made it to the Alps.
What a beautiful road. Just look at it, Vadim, you know. I'm walking along this road, and I really want to enjoy the silence. I'm walking and thinking how great it is that people in Zermatt decided to give up traditional cars. They're those rattling diesel vehicles. How great it is that people here care about the environment, so that any tourist walking along these roads feels awe, so that they're in total harmony with this incredible nature, so that they can enjoy the flowers. But what's this? What the hell is that coming toward us? What is this stupid thing? This is some kind of diesel monster? Ah, yes, of course. There it is, the hay truck. God, it smells like old diesel from the 1980s. And here I was, like an idiot, thinking we'd enjoy peace and solitude. Smelling these beautiful flowers, walking and admiring alpine villages. But no, we're literally walking behind this stinking, farting hay hauler. I was sure the only explanation for this hideous old design was that it had to be electric, that you simply couldn't buy anything new here, and poor farmers were forced to drive ancient electric tractors assembled in local garages. But it turns out this is an old Swiss piece of from the 1980s, and it's diesel-powered.
You know, modern electric cars exist now. I saw a Jaguar, for example. They add artificial engine sounds. Maybe this one is electric too, just with fake engine noise.
And a fake smell, too.
It's nostalgia for old Switzerland.
I don't know what kind of nostalgia that is, but it reminds me of the 90s, when an old bus would drive past you, cover you in black smoke, and afterward, you'd have to go wash yourself.
Look, it stopped to charge.
Stop to charge. This is just a nightmare. I checked the prices, and you should have seen my face. Basic models cost between 65,000 and 90,000 Swiss francs. This coffin on wheels with a battery costs as much as a brand new Mercedes. I don't understand. Stimbo is the main local manufacturer. Some custom-made models cost up to 120,000 francs. Hexel and other lesser-known brands range from 65,000 to 100,000. It also depends on the type. Industrial vehicles, garbage trucks, lift platforms, small buses cost 120,000 Swiss francs and up. All because they're assembled by hand. All because they're made here in Switzerland. Everything here is expensive. It's absolute madness. Friends, as I already said, Zermatt is a ski resort and one of the most expensive in the world. So you can't get anywhere without a cable car. And yes, the prices are shocking again. I've got the treasured ticket right here, a lift pass. If you don't want to walk uphill, you can take the cable car instead. It costs 70 euros round trip. I hope they're doing well with prices like that. Of course, I'd really like even just a little, even €1 from this ticket price to go toward paying an automotive designer in Zermatt. Maybe they design a nice bumper or something, but that's unlikely. Still, all irritation fades into the background when views like this are in front of you. Well, friends, just look at this beauty. And now Vadim will tell us what this magnificent mountain is.
This mountain really is legendary. Absolutely breathtaking. Even if you're not into mountains at all, you've definitely seen it before. If you like chocolate and have ever bought a Toblerone, this exact mountain used to be pictured on the packaging. Later, Switzerland sued the chocolate company and won because the mountain is considered a national treasure and can't be used for commercial purposes. In fact, this was the last of the so-called Great Alpine Peaks to be conquered, and it's considered the most difficult one. It was first climbed in 1865 by 7 people, and 4 of them died on the way down. And the face we're looking at right now is one of the 6 greatest Alpine walls. It was only climbed in 1931, which is actually quite recent. The speed record belongs to Kilian Jornet, who climbed and descended it Alpine style in 2 hours and 52 minutes. For comparison, the very first ascent took 13 hours. Modern climbers are a bit faster, as you can see. Naturally, many people consider this the most beautiful mountain in the world, with only Mount Fuji as a possible rival. It's also one of the most photographed mountains on the planet, and judging by the crowds, it absolutely lives up to its reputation.
Those who have 165 francs for a ticket don't have to walk. They can ride this magical high-altitude train instead. When you're walking here, gasping for air, basically coughing up your lungs, and you look over and see people happily staring out the window, you can't help but feel a little jealous. So, Vadim, are you tired?
Tired but happy.
Let's go take a look at this luxurious train life.
We don't have 160 francs, right?
165. That's for a single ticket straight from the bottom all the way to the top by train. It's expensive and not very sporty. We could take the train, but it wouldn't be sporting. By the way, the railway here is quite interestingly designed. There's a separate cogwheel rail in the middle that the train grips onto because the incline is so steep. With views like this, wealthy tourists, mostly from China, go up without walking. We strongly condemn them.
Of course.
Of course, not sporty.
We condemn, but we understand.
We understand, but still condemn. If Cheburashka and Crocodile Gina from a Soviet cartoon were traveling through Switzerland, their song would be about a golden train car, not a blue one, because here in Zermatt there are 3 golden locomotives. A long time ago they used to run all the way up to the summit. That was about 100 years ago, when this cogwheel railway was first built. Now they're monuments. What's interesting is that people say these train cars are actually covered in real gold. Another stands on the approach to the town, and the third is up at the top. I don't know how much of it is real gold, but at the very least, it looks gold. Everything is gold. An absolutely stunning golden locomotive. Where else could something like this exist if not here in Switzerland? Everything has to look rich. People stop and stare. They've never seen anything like it.
Never.
Ever. A real golden locomotive. And honestly, it might actually be real gold. If it's gold leaf, like the kind used on church domes, then why not? You can even see the individual sheets. Look, you can really see them.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, it actually is covered in gold leaf. People don't believe it. They're trying to scratch it. Well, that's amazing. And here you can see how this worked. A cogwheel rotated on a special rail, which set the locomotive's wheels in motion, allowing it to climb the steep road up the mountain. This is all fascinating. But friends, always check the public transport schedule if you have tickets, and otherwise this is what happens.
We missed the lift, thanks to Ilya. He was supposed to make sure it stopped at 4:45 p.m., but we got off at 5 hours, 15 minutes late, so we were forced to take this ridiculously expensive train. Literally half of my vacation budget went on this one ride. To put it in perspective, we're traveling just one station, and it costs 44 euros. For that price, you could get from Paris to Nice by train or plane. We'll be on it for 5 minutes. I am furious. Look. My son is literally tearing his hair out because we're on this overpriced train. Yes, because here it's either a ticket or food, and we spent everything on the ticket. Welcome to Switzerland.
Is it the most expensive train?
Oh yes, absolutely, the most expensive. It can't get any pricier, and it's actually good we didn't get stuck higher, or we'd have paid 66 euros, almost 70. For 70 euros, you could fly from Paris to Milan or even Rome. You could go anywhere far away. How people survive here in Switzerland, I have no idea.
Honestly, it was funny in a way. All the way up, we kept wondering who the idiots were who actually buy tickets for this ridiculously expensive train. And in the end, we turned out to be the idiots. We didn't check the schedule for the regular lift, for which we also had expensive tickets. So we ended up joining the line of train passengers. Anyway, I understood their business model, though. They closed the cable car early, and then you're forced to buy a train ticket just to get down the mountain. Sure, we could have walked the 10 kilometers along the mountain trails, but we had a child with us and there were other circumstances. We had to top up the budget of the Zermatt railway. Well, let's hope they spend this money on hiring a car designer. Maybe next season the local cars won't be such awful eyesores. Friends, I'm finally leaving Zermatt. On my way to Zurich, I decided to stop at a few more alpine villages because mountain scenery never gets old. And remember, some things are actually free. It turns out that the restrictions on internal combustion vehicles apply mostly to private and commercial cars. But company or service vehicles get a lot more leeway. If you need special equipment, like for construction, the local administration can issue permits, and yes, you can buy a diesel vehicle. Farmers, police, fire services and other authorities use this loophole all the time, so neither Zermatt nor other nearby car-free villages are 100% car-free. Now let's talk real estate. I'm currently in a small town called Sosvim, just in the next valley over from Zermatt. Prices are a bit higher in Zermatt, but they're roughly comparable. As I mentioned before, the permanent local population is tiny. About 90% of the people here are tourists. So all the real estate, the houses, chalets and so on, is mainly built for renting out. These apart-hotels and chalets are either bought by people for vacation use or as investment properties to rent out. For example, here's a 78 square meter one-bedroom apartment, and it costs 265,000 francs. In Zermatt, the same size would probably go for around 400,000. A larger chalet, about 200 square meters, is worth 4 million francs because it's a new building. It's brand new, just built, so it's 4,175,000 francs. An apartment nearby, 151 square meters, costs 2,170,000 francs. 130 square meters goes for 1.5 million francs. And then there are more houses, again with different prices. Naturally, real estate prices vary greatly. For example, 64 square meters for 650,000 francs in a building like this. There are lots of different houses. Of course, the price depends heavily on a few things. First of all, whether you have ski-in or ski-out access, meaning you can leave the house and immediately ski onto the slopes, because the main tourists who come here in winter are skiers and snowboarders. Secondly, of course, everything depends on the view, what you see from your window. If your window looks out onto a street, the price won't be very high, but if you have a view of these absolutely stunning snow-covered peaks, the price can easily be 30 to 40% higher than a neighboring apartment with no view. Here's a completely new building. They're offering 91 square meters for 1 million francs and 200 square meters for almost 3 million. That one dates back to 2004. So this is an older chalet that's relatively small, and this one is brand new. And this one here was built in 1925. An apartment in that chalet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 91 square meters, cost 1 million francs. An apartment in that chalet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 91 square meters, costs 1 million francs. As you know, friends, I've occasionally criticized Russian posts for engaging in non-core business. At some point, post offices turned into little convenience stores selling canned meat, sanitary pads, pasta, everything except proper postal services. Sometimes it was hard just to buy stamps or postcards. In Switzerland, the post office also runs a somewhat non-core business. For example, Swiss Post owns a subsidiary bus company. It operates across the entire country and is often the only public transport available, especially in mountain villages. The bus design is interesting. They look like this. You can see the postal horn. The company is called Post Auto. These are the famous yellow buses. Their distinctive feature is a horn that sounds like an old postal horn. They use this horn to warn others when driving through sharp mountain turns, so they're more noticeable. This is what they look like. There are even trailers where people can store their skis if they're heading up to a mountain village. Here's their logo, Post Auto. They have quite a serious infrastructure. You see, even in a small village, there's a bus garage where the vehicles are serviced. Everything is well organized, eco-friendly tourism. They even offer some kind of travel pass. It gives a 50% discount. Since there's a Post Auto stop nearby, there's also a regular post office here. Today is Sunday, so it probably isn't open. This is what a mailbox looks like. Everything is branded in a single unified style. This is the waiting room at the bus station. There are lockers here. And here's the post office. Wait, it's open. That's cool. The post office is open on a Sunday. Both the bus station and the post office are all in one place. This is a completely unexpected line of business for the Swiss Postal Service. I decided to stop by one more place, one that recently became a major media story. In Switzerland, there's a village called Albinen. And it sounds like something out of a fairy tale, doesn't it? And just look, it really does look like a fairy tale. A beautiful village on a mountain slope. But Albinen's population is tiny, only 262 people. So the local authorities decided they had to do something to keep the village from disappearing altogether. They thought, what if we paid people to move here? The news spread through the media, and that's when things got interesting. People from all over the world started packing their bags. From Brazil, Cameroon, Italy, everyone rushed toward this village. And why not? Albinen promised to pay 25,000 francs for relocating plus 10,000 francs for each child. But as often happens, things turned out not to be so simple. Yes, the village is beautiful, alpine views, peace and quiet, but there's almost no infrastructure. There's still no bank, no post office. The bus runs once an hour, and the school closed back in 2008. It also turned out that in order to receive the money, you need to have a Swiss passport, or at least a special residence permit. On top of that, you have to invest at least 200,000 francs into housing, and you must live there for a minimum of 10 years, and also become a tax resident. And you know what? Out of the 12,000 applications they received, only a handful of people actually managed to move. The local authorities were simply flooded with requests. They received letters and phone calls from all over the world. But when it came to the details, the money, where to live, how to move, they just shrugged and said, guys, you simply don't meet the criteria. As a result, over 5 years, only 50 people moved to Albany. They were mostly Swiss citizens who already lived nearby. The village has certainly come back to life a little, but it's still very, very far from any kind of mass migration. So this is one of those stories where the news went viral, but in reality, things weren't quite as rosy. On the other hand, because so many people, including major media outlets, wrote about this village, tourists started coming here. While I'm standing here recording, several tour groups have already passed by, a few restaurants have opened, and in any case, the village has definitely come alive, if not because people are actually moving here to live, then at least thanks to tourism. That's how a single loud news story can attract a tourist flow to a godforsaken village, and that means new jobs, tax revenue, and some revival of local businesses. Let's go take a look at what this village is really like. By the way, friends, notice that new houses are being built. Maybe someone really has moved here after all, or maybe these are small hotels that will be rented out to tourists who come to see a dying Swiss village. No, this looks nothing like a dying village. I had very different expectations. There are expensive cars, expensive houses, and a creative mayor who knows how to generate headlines in the media. Another example of Swiss ingenuity is the city of Bern. No one is disappearing from the map here. On the contrary, it's a fairly well-known place, but it doesn't attract everyone. Why? You'll never guess. Because it's very expensive, of course. Amazing. First of all, Bern has trolley buses. The streets are incredibly beautiful, especially in the city center. Everything looks clean, polished, and wealthy. Just amazing. Drinking water, clean drinking water. There are these wonderful benches. This is a bell. Well, not a bell, more like a heavy knocker. We won't knock, it's massive. I said we're not knocking. If you knock like that, they'll hear it on the second floor. The central street is designed in a really cool way. There are no sidewalks, no road markings. It's a shared space. On one side, people walk calmly wherever they want. On the other, police cars or taxis occasionally drive by. Local residents' cars sometimes come through here as well, but most importantly, trolley buses run along this street, which is quite surprising. A police car is passing by right now. There are drinking fountains along the street, bicycle parking areas are neatly marked, and it all creates a very cozy and interesting shared space. I don't even know why, but it feels like a nice, expensive city. Maybe it's because of the cleanliness, or maybe because there's a kind of natural barrier to entry, not a formal ban, but a price barrier. Not every tourist comes here, and in general, people traveling around Switzerland tend to be well-dressed. You can tell they're quite well off. Perhaps that's why Bern gives off this wealthy city vibe. And look, friends, a luxurious local trolley bus, quietly and smoothly moving along Bern's central street. These buildings with ground floor arcades, galleries can be found in other cities too, for example in Bologna. But what's distinctive about Bern's arcades is how massive they are. Sometimes you see even at an angle. Now everyone will know I'm not an architect, so that's probably not the correct term. And here's another fountain. Everywhere it says drinking water, simply magical. And once again, look, another trolley bus, just wonderful. Yes, and the local architecture is incredibly expressive because it's not just that the buildings have arcades on the ground floors. You can actually walk through them. If it's raining or if you just want some shade, everything is fully walkable. Oh, while I was talking about the buildings, look, the trolley bus is lowering its poles so it can continue running on battery power. So, apart from everything else, there are these distinctive buttresses, angled supporting structures. They add extra character and charm to all these arcades. And of course, there are these local sofas, like the benches they've placed everywhere. Judging by the crowd gathering here, it looks like there's going to be some kind of performance at 4 o'clock. Oh friends, walking around Bern, it's just extraordinary beauty. Every building, every detail, every door, every entrance feels like it belongs on a postcard. Just look at this magical historic door and how many details it has. There's some kind of knight up there, little fountains, and here lies a frog, such a tiny, beautiful little frog. Then there's a bookstore, very beautiful. On the other side, there are restaurants, greenery, umbrellas, bicycle parking. You look at all this and your eyes just rejoice. Every street makes you think, why aren't you an artist? You could start painting Bern right now. So what can I say? It's a suddenly stunning city. Well, not suddenly. I was here about 10 years ago. Back then, though, I wasn't filming YouTube videos yet, so I can't show you footage from that time. But overall, Bern is a very, very beautiful city. The Swiss really know how to do it. I don't know what the secret is. We should try to figure it out. By the way, friends, write in the comments what creates a sense of well-being for you. When you arrive in a city and walk around and you immediately feel, this is a good city, a wealthy city. What is it? Is it the businesses? The people on the streets? The feeling of safety, order, cleanliness? I can't say everything is perfect here. Of course, there are rough edges. Navigation can be confusing at times, roads aren't always ideal, and so on. But still, the overall impression is one of genuine prosperity. You instantly understand that you're in Switzerland. By the way, Bern has a swimming season. Everything is really cool and creative. After work, people pack their belongings into dry bags and jump straight into the Aare River. There's no need to paddle. The current carries you past the old town and under the bridges. And this isn't just entertainment, it's real transportation. So while some have overcrowded buses after work, they have a river. It's exercise, air conditioning, and socializing with neighbors all at once. From June to September, while the water isn't completely icy, the city lives to the rhythm of the river. In some countries, friends, it's common to park luxury cars right in front of venues, for example, in the United Arab Emirates. You have VIP parking in front of Dubai Mall, expensive cars parked right by the entrance. On the one hand, everyone sees how you arrive and walk in. On the other, it adds status to the place itself. If a luxury car is parked outside a restaurant, hotel, or store, it signals wealthy clientele and attracts more of them. Switzerland, of course, also commits this little sin. You'll often see an expensive car parked in front of a luxury hotel. Why the hell it's standing there? I honestly don't understand. It's not beautiful, it's just blocking the entrance. Apparently, it's there to demonstrate that some hotel guests can afford a Ferrari. Great, but I'm not sure that's appropriate. So here's the entrance to a local 5-star hotel. How much do you think a cup of espresso costs in a 5-star hotel in Bern? With a view like this, first, we have to try the espresso. Now I'll bend my rich little finger so everyone can see I didn't just wander in casually. Well, the espresso is a solid C, regular coffee from a standard machine. Typical hotel coffee, definitely not a specialty cafe. So how much does a cup of espresso cost? 9 francs. 9 francs for a cup of espresso. Though to be fair, they give you a little chocolate with nuts. That makes it slightly less painful. You can also buy some gold here, so you have something to wear to dinner. Oh, or sneakers. These are 4,400 francs. Those are 950. They're the simpler ones. And on your way out, you can admire the Ferrari. This is Switzerland. Insanely beautiful and very expensive. I've already returned to Zurich and decided to go for another bike ride while there's still time before my flight. And while I'm cycling, I'll try to describe my impressions of Switzerland. What makes this country special? I've been to Switzerland many times. My first visit was about 15 years ago, and truly, from the moment you land, even right at the airport, it already smells like wealth. It doesn't smell like wealth here, but you feel it. You sense it in the design, in the small details, in shop windows, in people's looks. you understand that everything here is expensive, refined. And yes, Switzerland really is one of the most expensive countries in the world. Traveling around Switzerland today is genuinely challenging. You know, there are countries where you simply don't look at prices. You know roughly what you'll spend, 20, 30 euros, and you're fine walking into a cafe or restaurant. Here, you start checking everything. You think a cup of coffee. I mean, I walked in today and never even thought to check the price. How much could it be? 2 euros, 3, maybe 5? And then you see it costs 9 francs, basically 10 euros, for an awful cup of coffee. And you immediately think, forget it. You walk past a McDonald's and there's an ad saying that for 3.5 francs you can get a coffee and a croissant. Obviously, it's not exactly gourmet. McDonald's coffee and croissants are questionable. But suddenly you start thinking, well, maybe restaurants, that's a whole separate story. I went to a restaurant once today, got the bill, and I decided I don't want to go to restaurants anymore. It's not that you can't afford it, it's just shockingly expensive compared to almost any other European country. Maybe London or New York can compete with Switzerland on prices, but somehow there you're already mentally prepared. The only thing that's free here is water. So yes, prices, prices, prices. I think half this video is about how expensive everything is. And you might say, enough already, we get it. But that's not why I love Switzerland. I don't love it for the prices, I love it because it feels noble. There are many expensive countries in the world. Take the Emirates, Singapore, and others. But luxury in those places often feels overly polished, almost sterile. Take Singapore, for example. It feels like one massive open-air office complex. Strict regulations, endless fines, perfect cleanliness. Not a single piece of paper on the ground. Switzerland is different. On one side, behind me, there might be a modern luxury residential complex. On the other, an untrimmed lawn. On one side, wealth and refinement. On the other, imperfection. And then there's history. All of this together creates a unique atmosphere, one you'll never experience in Dubai, Qatar, or Singapore. It's like visiting someone with old money. Not someone who won the lottery yesterday, but someone who's been wealthy for generations. With education, with family history, with traditions stretching back decades. In that sense, Switzerland is the embodiment of old money. A solid, dignified, restrained luxury that's very hard to find elsewhere. Friends, thank you for traveling with me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. There are many more fascinating places ahead, so we'll meet again very soon in new videos. And you know the drill. Like, subscribe, hit the bell button so you don't miss anything. Take care, hugs, and see you soon. Bye.